Welcome to another edition of Speak Up Presents. Today we're going to be talking about the county mayor ballot initiative that's coming up in November, and we have with us Mary Ann Stiles. Welcome. She's with the elected county mayor political committee and an attorney in town. Welcome, and I'm glad you could be here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Dottie Berger McKinnon, who's a former Hillsborough County commissioner and also for the idea of a county mayor. Welcome, Dottie. I'm glad you could be here. Beth Rollins, a local government political consultant, and thank you for being here. And Dr. Carolyn Collins from the Hillsborough County NAACP. Welcome. Glad you could be here. So we have something coming up in November, and a lot of us don't all understand what that is, and it's an initiative to have a county mayor. What does that mean exactly, Mary Ann? I'll let you go first.
Okay, we're a charter county, and in 1983, 84, 85, when we went to a charter form of government, we chose one of the three ways that people can be governed. At that time, it was chosen that we would have an appointed county administrator. And what we're asking for is an elected county administrator, parentheses mayor. And all we're doing is asking that person that is appointed be elected by the people. And that's all we're doing with veto, and creating veto power over some of the ordinances of the county commission.
What were the other forms that we could have chosen?
The one we have today, which is the appointed county administrator appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, and the other one is what Orlando has, where the mayor is elected by the board.
Elected by the
Board of County Commissioners. He's one of them and he's elected by them.
Okay, so all we're asking is that instead of having a appointed by the commissioners, hired by the commissioners, county administrator, that the people elect this person.
That's what we're asking.
This has come up many times before in this county, right?
No.
85, 90, 95?
No, only
No?
consolidation. Consolidations come up, but never this form of government.
Okay. Well, would you give your view of why the voters should vote that way, and then jump in and we'll find out why we shouldn't?
Sure. There are a lot of us who believe that we need accountability, leadership, and checks and balances. And we don't feel that we have the leadership in this county because our form of government does not allow one person to speak for the county. We feel like there's no accountability to the people because we have nothing to say about who that person is that runs the county. And we feel like we need a system of checks and balances as our forefathers envisioned, because right now what we have, it'd be kind of like the Congress hiring the president. We feel like we need a separate executive officer who is elected by the people and who has the power to veto.
You don't think that there's accountability with the 7 commissioners?
Whatever accountability there is with the 7 county commissioners remains the same. We don't touch the county commissioners. But we don't think that the position of county administrator is accountable to the people. That person's accountable to the 7 county commissioners.
Well, Dottie, as a former county commissioner yourself, how do you view this whole thing?
Well, I think we need to have somebody who can push an agenda. The problem that I have is we can't address our real problems in this county. To me, the real problems right now are transportation, and we can't get anything done. So a few years ago, when they wanted to put something on the ballot for the people to decide, 4 county commissioners decided that they were going to decide and not the people, even though a poll was taken that indicated that the people thought that transportation was a very important issue. So nobody has stepped forward to really push that agenda. If you have an elected county mayor, they are accountable to the people. If you don't like the way they operate, then you vote them out of office the next time it comes around. But then the county commissioners, they would have the ability to do their jobs. The county mayor is not going to do a lot of things. They're not going to do ordinances. They're not going to do zoning and those things where there has been the talk, well, there could be bribery, there could be things that happened in the past. That's not, the county commission part is not going to change. You're going to have the county mayor, who does not have a vote on the county commission. The 7 county commissioners will continue to be able to do their job and to vote.
What do you think about this, Beth?
Well, interestingly enough, the very reasons that they are supporting a county mayor are the reasons that I am opposed to a county mayor. At the moment, we do have accountability in the day-to-day operations of the county. With an elected mayor, you have accountability directly to the voters, but only one day every 4 years, when the power of incumbency is very, very difficult to overcome. Now, with a professional administrator, we have accountability literally every single day. If the county administrator is heading in the wrong path or not following the policy set forward by the Board of County Commissioners, they can be fired tomorrow. So that's accountability as far as I'm concerned. Additionally, what this proposal does is it literally goes into the charter and crosses out the places where a professional day-to-day county administrator with the experience, the training, the education, and the expertise to run the operations of the county is crossed out, and it's replaced by a mayor. What that's doing is eliminating professionalism and replacing it with a politician. The person who is best qualified to run the day-to-day operations of the county is someone with all of those qualities that I just outlined, not a charismatic politician who may or may not have the skills necessary for the job. Lastly, it opens up all of those issues, the agenda, the contracting, budgeting, everything else that the administrator has a hand in to the political process and influence of political contributors. So if, in my mind, you're eliminating accountability and you are trading a professional for a politician.
You're up, Carolyn.
I'm up. Okay. The NAACP actually dealt with this issue several years ago. So even though it did not make the ballot, it was an issue. And I think it may have surfaced during the time of the charter review, because there was quite a bit of discussion as I watched the charter review committee discuss this. And I guess that review comes up about every 5 years. At that time, Dr. Sam Horton was the president of the NAACP. And we looked at our national resolutions, which is what we try to follow. And the concept there was one vote, one voice. We were looking for representation for all people and individuals to have access to the county administrator. As it stands now, the difficulty it is in order to have that level of access. I mean, if there are issues that we've seen debated as citizens, how difficult it is for individuals to even get access to get to the mayor. I think that it is greater accountability. I think there's representation and there's access when there's a county administrator, because the responsibility of getting that person out of office if they are not doing the job would be that of the people to remove the county commissioners should they allow that individual to remain in that position and not function effectively for the citizens of the city of Tampa or the county of Hillsborough, because there's that overlap.
Do you see that that minority representation, is that kind of what you're saying, would be impacted by?
Most definitely.
How do you, if you're still going to have a county commissioner who is representing, for example, in our county, District 3, they would still be there.
They would be there, and that representative for the 4 that they've divided the county up into 4 parcels and given a commissioner for each of those areas, and then the 3 that are at large or countywide, which then represent all of the people. You have a much better chance of trying to get perhaps 2 people or 4 people, either way you want to look at it, to listen to you, and then get a county commissioner. It is difficult now for not just the minorities, but, and I'm going to say minorities from a different perspective rather than ethnicity. I'm talking about minorities of people of less affluent. The less affluent an individual might be, the least opportunity they have to get to the mayor. With the county commissioners, they may not get to them, but if you represent me in my district, you want my vote, and then I may have the opportunity to talk with you. When it comes to the county mayor, the county administrator is more accessible to those individuals, and we just feel that it's one vote, one person, one voice, one vote. And then the other thing that we're looking at is we're talking about 1.2 million people in Hillsborough County. When you really look at perhaps low-income individuals and minorities at large, you've got approximately, I would say, maybe about 20% that are Hispanics, about 15%, give or take, that might be African Americans, and about 5% are Asians. and the remaining is majority community, and it doesn't matter which way you kind of cut it. I just feel, as the NAACP has put forth, that one vote, one voice go a much further way if we allowed to have the county commissioners elected by not only at large, but also by districts, and leave those individuals accountable to the county administrator.
How do you two respond to these, both the accountability question, which shifting the accountability from the voters to the commissioners, and this question of minority representation? How do you two?
All right, taking it one at a time. Even if you have access to our appointed county administrator, she has no power to do anything with it. She is not elected by the people. You can convince her all day what she can do, but the Board of County Commissioners can change her mind for her, and it will be changed because she works for them. And secondly, the issue of, you raised earlier about beholden to the people who give the money. The reason this is, we made this nonpartisan position so it would not get caught up in the politics. It will get caught up in politics because it's going to be an elected position, but it is a nonpartisan position. Also, I believe that if the county administrator doesn't do her job, we may not think she's doing her job, but as long as 4 of the 7 county commissioners think she's doing her job, she stays. And believe me, this isn't personal about the position. This is just a strong belief that I have that this county has not moved forward because we haven't had proper representation, because we have no leadership. And when you have 7 county commissioners who not one of them by charter can speak for the Hillsborough County, and it is the county commissioner who can speak, excuse me, the county administrator who can speak, but she can't speak on any political issues. It shows you the gap we have. When we were a small county, fine. But when you get to be 1.2 million people, and I'll tell you something else, there's also a recall provision. And all we're asking is to follow what the charter says. The charter says that you have administration and you have executive, and one shall not interfere with the other. You tell me that you really believe that our county administrator has the power to tell the Board of County Commissioners to stay out of the executive side of government. They don't. But that's what our charter envisioned when it was drafted. And that was the separation of powers that we were promised, and we don't have that either. So we have no separation of powers, we have no checks and balances, we have no leadership, and we have no accountability. And those are the issues that concern me.
Dottie?
Well, I would like to address the part about the county commissioners, because that part's not going to change. You still are going to have the 4 districts and the 3 at large. That's not going to change at all. So now you're going to have a professional or you're going to have an elected county administrator who is directly accountable to the people. This reminds me of a few years ago when we were going through the hurricanes, and Pat Bean had made an appointment to go over and talk to the mayor about evacuation. I mean, here we are in the midst of talking about hurricanes and stuff and talk about evacuations. Well, she was not allowed to go, and 6 months later she got to go when she took a county commissioner with her. She could not go over and talk to the mayor one-on-one about evacuation for Hillsborough County. Now, I just think that's just unconscionable. I just think that's unconscionable.
She was not allowed. For what reason was she not allowed?
Because she didn't have the authority, and a county commissioner is the only one who has the authority, and they would not allow her to go. 6 months later, when a hurricane season was over, she did go over, and I think the chairman of the county commission went with her. And that, to me, is a
What
very...
about this point that Beth brought out, that when, and you know this, you ran for office, what about the point that you might hire somebody because, as we often do, we might vote in somebody, we just like them. They don't necessarily have the credentials for that particular job. What about that? Because that's really an important argument, I think.
Well, let's talk about who the county commissioners and how qualified they are. You know, one day you're Joe Blow on the street, and the next day you're county commissioner, and you're supposed
one
to
day
be
you're a wrestler,
an expert on everything. I know, because I was there. It's like one day, and then the next day you're making all these big decisions. And so, how qualified are you? It takes you a whole year to find out what's going on.
And our charter provides for the right, which Pat Bean has done, and every county administrator before her, to hire as many assistant county administrators as they need to run the job, to do the job, because one person can't do it all. But to say that you've got to be a professional to be a county administrator is, to me, the weakest argument you could make, because why? I haven't seen that it's done any good in this county, because she has no power to do anything with her knowledge.
First off, the idea that she has no power is just crazy. I mean, we have 67 counties in Florida. The vast majority of them are run through the council-manager form of government.
You have
Almost
5
70
big counties, though, that, aren't there?
know
5
what,
big counties that are running
3.
the way they're proposing now?
There's 4.
No.
4.
No,
Well, there's one with consolidated, so you can't count
You can't.
Jacksonville, but you have
That's right.
Orlando, you have Broward, and you have Dade County.
Dade is a metropolitan form of government, which
Orange.
is completely different than frankly, any other government in the state of Florida.
But they just voted for themselves
Yes,
to have an
they
elected
did.
county mayor.
They did. But many, many large counties, Pinellas, Palm Beach, the vast majority of large counties are run this
You know how
way.
many people are calling us to see if they can look at and go in this way, because they
Well,
recognize
I can
that there's a
appreciate
need.
Well,
that.
let me ask a question,
But
though.
more governments are converting to council manager than are converting to strong mayor. That's been the trend over the last 20 years, and it continues to be the trend today. This is not an obsolete form of government. This is the direction that most municipalities are going.
They're not converting, they're starting their first charter. We chartered in '83, and we chose the form of government we've got today. And people like Fred Carl, who I consider an expert at local government, says that it would be almost impossible for us to go to the position of having somebody elected from the board. We need to have the county mayor that's separate with power.
And I
not
would agree
ceremonial.
that you cannot go to a mayor elected by the board, but
If
I
you
do
give
not
the
agree that
mayor
this is what you want to
a
do.
great deal of, they would have more power, right? Which decisions, does the ballot cover sort of which decisions you would propose being left in the hands of this county administrator / mayor, a voted-in county person?
Well, the statute lays out what duties that person has, and we're not touching those. But what we did do was on the veto power. We did not include veto power for anything related to zoning, because zoning is really a quasi-judicial system, and it works. It may not work the way everybody wants it. And we also
So zoning would stay with the county board.
And the county mayor
And
would
right
have no
now,
say.
They
well,
have
you're
no say
saying it's
over
the
it.
same decisions, but it isn't, right?
Well, we didn't take
What
all-
you are saying is, though, or are we not saying that we don't think what's in the charter now is actually happening?
No, not as far as separation of powers, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I've heard that too. I've heard of commissioners that have decided who should be fired and not, and department, we've seen, I mean, this has even been in the paper recently, right? Get rid of these housing people, we don't like them, but we're not telling you to fire them, but you better do something to them.
And
This
while-
kind of stuff, right? Which,
While I'm not going to argue whether that does or does not happen in this particular instance,
Right.
what you were talking about is not a question of one particular instance. What you're talking about is the form of government that the county will live by. Whether it's being executed properly at the moment is really a secondary question.
I think that's what's created this, though.
Well, but unfortunately, what you're saying is that there is a dearth of leadership. And so your answer to that is to create this more powerful political position. If there's a dearth of political leadership, then certainly creating another position where more power is concentrated into a political position is the antithesis of what you would want to do.
When you say
Okay,
more
so
power,
could you be almost on the same page, but just saying the resolution is something different? What do you think, Carolyn?
I was about to go back to the professional piece, because I like that piece better, because I'm concluding almost 2 terms now for the Community Action Agency working under county government. And when you look at the component pieces of county government, from healthcare, from transportation, when you look at the wealth of issues that you need an administrator to be well versed on, and to be able to make sure that they can meet with the community and the individuals and carry those issues before the Board of County Commissioners. You cannot control. I mean, we carry issues before the City Council, and they may not make it to the mayor. and she may decide that the council may decide this is a very good issue. The mayor still has the veto power to knock that out. What we're seeing in the sense of a county administrator is we think that there's greater representation for the mass of the people, and it's a much larger people. I mean, when you look at the populace at large, you're literally talking about 1/3 in the city and of what you have in the full county to represent. It is so much better that I know that I have someone that have been educated enough, and that's why I remember the last county administrator, and whether he came or went to Tallahassee, wherever he came from, but usually that position is someone that comes with some experience. It really is very critical to have an issue with all of the, I call them ills that we have in this community today, to not have an individual that's running off of popularity and political awareness to be able to run the county government. And you're going to have difficult, no matter whether it's county government, no matter what CEO it is, you're going to have a level of difficulty as to how they orchestrate and how they manage that position.
The people who run those departments and those divisions are still going to be there. We're not touching those. Those people become.
I'm going to
And
answer
it's
Those
not
same
gonna-
people in the city.
I'm sorry?
Those same individuals are in the city. But if the mayor chooses to veto one of those issues, she still
If
has
there was
the
an
right.
ordinance that came before her and she wanted to veto it, it could be overridden by a majority vote of the board.
Is that the way you've got this, is that the way the charter's written?
Yes.
Is the system
So,
really that broke?
What
Yes.
decisions could this person make without going to the, that they now just reside with the county commission?
Well, when you look at the duties and powers that they have, all the policy and directives are set by the board.
And
it's
that
the
would still
duty-
be the same?
And that would still be the same. The duties of the county administrator is to carry out those policies and directives.
Okay.
Not touching that. We're not touching the fact that there would take several people to run departments and be assistant county mayors. We're not touching that. If she needs them, they're there. We're not adding more levels of government or bureaucracy because it's just replacing one position with another. Today, the administrator puts the budget together and presents it to the board. That would still occur. If the mayor vetoed any portion of that budget, she would also have to veto a program of like expenditure so that you don't get an unbalanced budget.
Wait a minute. How would the county administrator still put the budget together when you have eliminated the county administrator and
Yeah.
replaced it with a
Because
with
all the duties
mayor?
and powers are still there to do that.
I understand that, but now they rest with a political elected mayor. This is not still a county
It's kind
administrator.
of like the governor goes to the legislature and says, here's my budget, and the legislature takes it, and the legislature says, this is your budget, and gives it back to them. It's
That's
the same
right, but
form of
let's-
government.
But let's be clear that under your changes, that original budget would be put together by an elected politician, not by a professional city manager.
What about that? Is there really any likelihood that it's any different if it's an elected position versus what we have now in terms of contracts being awarded? Contracts being awarded or money going out or this kind of thing? Does that make any difference at all?
No, because what you do presently is that the county administrator comes up with the budget and goes before the county commission. I mean, you'd be there until 1 o'clock in the morning and you're talking about $10,000 and you're talking about a budget that's $4 billion right now, and you're down to
And by
discussing.
the way our county does it, it's almost impossible to figure out anything.
But it shifts.
Does
I mean,
everybody know that?
Well, unless
did
you
ever
go
know
to the
that?
budget meetings, because I've gone to
Oh,
the
no,
budget
I've gone to the budget
and
meetings.
you
I've
sit there.
actually printed those 500-page documents. But let me just give you an example.
Preparation.
I'm going to give you an example. Suppose I wanted to know the salary of one individual in that county. Just pick one. If it weren't for the fact that right now you can find it on a database that the Tampa Tribune happens to have on tbo.com, you would, it's almost impossible. The city, by the way, though, you can go to, it'll take you 5 minutes to find out the salary on tampagov.net site. But when you go to the county site, they have the trickiest budget you have ever seen in your life. They put down 1 point this of this position, or 0.75% of this position does this and that and whatever, and it never clearly tells you what anything costs. And then they do this other tricky thing where they pretend that they have reduced staff in a particular department by creating a new department and moving that staff over there. They have one of the worst, as far as, can you figure out what's happening, budgets?
I had to go to records requests and ask specific questions to get that kind of information.
I still can't, for 5 years I've been trying to find out, how much money do cable subscribers actually pay in local communications taxes that go to the county, and there's not a single soul that can answer that.
That's
Okay?
That's
Or
pretty-
will answer that.
will
Can I tell you this?
I think will answer.
Will answer that, because cable subscribers, cable companies were supposed to pay franchise fees to dig up our lawns, and what they decided to do is put it on the bill to look like we're paying it. So, okay, so because they're passing it through, and I don't know why they don't have on the bill, and this is how much toilet paper costs us, and our trucks, and our gas, and our uniforms, but they don't. They decided to just put this part on. So they make us think we're paying it, which of course we're paying all their expenses, just like buying this cup. We're paying everybody's
Okay.
expenses.
It's just
So-
like we're paying all the expenses
But
with the water or with the TICO, and they're passing on. I think it's pretty consistent, and that when you look at representation for the mass of the people, accountability, you look at the fact that you're going to have problems no matter what form of government you're dealing with. And we're talking about how can we just keep a chief executive officer and those individuals, whether it's two that the charter provides for, as it currently stands for the county administrator, or if it's multiple ones with other departments. And I saw something where it was like
you know
10.
we got a caller here.
Okay.
You're on Speak Up. Hello? You know what? It's not blinking. Hello? We've lost the call somehow. Call back.
Well, let me just
Okay,
say, let me
but
tell
if I
you.
finish, to complete just that statement alone, you're going to have a CEO
Now.
that's going to execute your business. You're going to have COOs in varying different companies, and you made reference to how many county assistant administrators there could be. It just seems to reason that if you have an individual that is going to be over the county government, and you have elected officials that are already there, it's incumbent upon the citizens to vote in and out those individuals if they are not making sure that you can find out where the money is for cable.
But, and
Hi,
I know you got a
Helen.
call. I'd like to answer that after the call.
You're on Speak Up.
Oh, well, I'm not anywhere. I'm just here waiting.
Okay, well, you're now on.
Okay.
All right. Go.
Okay.
You got a question, dear?
Yes, we do. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I don't necessarily have a question. I have perhaps a comment.
Okay.
And the comment being this is Marilyn Smith, and I've been around this government just a little while, and I have seen some very, very unhappy things happen. But at the same time, I have helped get rid of a couple of administrators who weren't doing their job, so I'm rather proud of that, and I'm working on getting rid of the one we have now because she's corrupt. But the point is, you can have corruption on any level with any commissioner or any elected official, such as a mayor. I'm sure we've all seen that, where things get bought and sold, and all of a sudden you have people appearing who we don't need, but they're on the payroll. And that happens where you have a body with that much power. When you have a mayor, there is too much influence in that one person. Don't kid yourself that these people are maybe looking for better government. I don't know that they're looking for better government. They're looking for access that would only be available to those with a lot of lobbyability and a lot of money, which at that time excludes a whole lot of other people without a lot of means. If you notice, a lot of the people that don't go down to the Board of County Commissioners are people that have to work all the time. Tell me when they're going to have access to a mayor. They're not going to. There's only a few people who are down there looking at what's going on, and it's for public records, Mary Ann. I know how to use those too, and I get all the answers I need, and it makes them crazy because we have a sunshine law, but thank God that we do. I do not believe we need a mayor to tell everybody else what to do. And if we're going to get a mayor, then why do we have to pay 7 other people? This is just another layer of government, and I don't think it's efficient. And that's my view after 20-some years of being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn.
You know, when they
I wish she was more clear about her opinion.
you know, when they talk about another layer of
Get it.
government, you
Really
know,
voice it exactly who it
let me
was.
just say this: when you talk about another layer of government, you're talking about what you're talking about. I got interested in this as a private citizen because I got so disgusted with the fact that we have a county commission that can't seem to do anything about transportation. It doesn't want to. Maybe it will now if our gas gets to be $5 a gallon. But 6 years ago,
Yeah,
the
they'll be
Chamber
digging in Tampa Bay then.
Yeah.
They'll probably let oil drilling happen right
That's
here.
what's going to come out of all
It'll
this.
be in
That's
my
what's gonna
backyard
come
in the
out of all
river.
this.
I know.
Bill Franklin.
But 6 years ago, the Chamber of Commerce came up with a transportation plan. And that transportation plan was presented to the Board of County Commissioners. And you know what the county commissioner rudely told that representative from the chamber? We don't have a transportation problem in Hillsborough County. Do you know the reason I got so upset over all of this is because I was a representative of Heartline. And I was watching what that county was getting ready to do to Heartline. They were getting ready to pull the county out of the bus system. And there is, the people who ride the buses in this city are people who cannot afford to have anybody to speak for them. And I was so angry that they would think, well, we don't need a bus system either. We're not going to pull out, because the minute that Hillsborough County pulled out, there would be no bus system here. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we doing this? Because they felt that they paid more for it than the city did, and they got no service. Well, sometimes that's just how it works in transportation. But when we got all upset about it and we started moving forward, all that just kind of died away. You know, we need transit, we need decision makers, and we need leaders, and we do not have leaders in this county. I'm sorry, and they're not on our Board of County Commissioners.
And while I'm not going to disagree with any of that, if there is a dearth of leadership here, creating a strong mayor, consolidated power, political position does not solve it.
Consolidated, it's
so
double
let's-
power. It's not consolidated. That's a misstatement that you're misleading the people on.
No,
But wait a minute. Is there another solution besides this? Because if this, look, if this doesn't go through, let's just go back to there. You both agree. I think all of us agree. There's a problem here. We've got people who are not doing everything we need, and I am sure that when one reports to 7 people, just as you said, you've got to keep 4 of them happy, and you may not be doing it in the way that maybe what is the best for the rest of the citizens, because those 4 people have a certain view of it. But so we're trying, so you're trying something. This may correct this problem. What if it gets voted down? What is the way to, is there another way to correct this problem? Because it looks like everybody knows there's a problem.
If it gets voted down, at least what I've tried to do would have been accomplished. The people have a right to decide. If the people say this isn't what I want, then I'm going to understand that. But I don't know where this county will go if this goes down.
You think this is really the only way to fix it?
What is it? There is no other way.
Let me suggest
you have,
one other
you
way.
have to pass. You have to do your initiatives within the laws that the county has, because counties until 1970 had to present their budgets to the legislature for approval. And the legislature said, wait a minute, we got to stop some of this. Let some of these counties charter themselves and run their own government.
Right.
But they gave them limited powers, and we're trying to operate within those limited powers. If this doesn't happen, I feel sorry for the future of this county.
But there's one other option, and I'll take this one strictly out of the page on voting rights and voter empowerment from the NAACP. It's imperative that we begin to look at what's happening when you've got 330,000 people in the county. And with the last election for the mayor, you had 180 of those 330-some thousand people that were registered, and about 72% of them went out to vote. It is time now for us to get the people, I call it first, registered, educated, and get them out to vote.
I don't disagree.
And once we do that, then we can move county commissioners that are not functioning. We can move city councils. We can move mayors that are not functioning appropriately for the individuals and the people. And we can leave that, because it is another layer of politicalization of the county government when we go to a county mayor, a strong mayor.
But you know what,
because I
we
heard
haven't-
all the time I hear him say strong mayor, and I know that means
not
give
my
some
word.
power.
It's not my word.
You know, and this is what they kept saying. So it's like, let's give this person some real
We
power.
got another caller here. You want to speak up? Hello, get away from your television, or
Okay, yes, hello. I have a question.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
a little bit confused. I was wondering, who votes, who elects the county mayor? Is it the county commissioners or the citizens?
Okay, all right.
And because if it's the citizens, then I feel much better about having a county mayor. But if it's the county commission that elects the county mayor, then I'm not sure that would do us any good.
Yeah, that's their proposal.
That's our point.
The proposal is to have the voters at large
Vote for the county
vote
mayor?
for the county mayor.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's nonpartisan, countywide.
Okay, back to you. You wanted to make
I think I made-
I think
I think I finished it. I hope I finished.
I'd like to bring up.
Go ahead.
I'd like to bring up another point, and that is that whenever a new political person takes office, they are inclined, and we've seen it over and over and over again, to bring in those people who have helped them to get elected. Those people who are answerable to them. One of my problems with swapping out a professional for a politician is the idea that those very department heads, the people who run water and you know, human resources, and award contracts and prepare budgets and those kinds of things, will be people who have helped to get this county mayor elected. It opens up the potential for corruption and cronyism that is frankly one of the reasons why we have the form of government we have now. In collective memory, 20 years is not really very long. I mean,
It just hasn't worked.
But that's what happened in Hillsborough County. There was a corruption scandal, and this professional administrator was in part brought into being in order to keep that from happening again.
Well, I don't know if that's how the decision was made. You looked at the three forms of government, and that's what the county chose for us to vote on, was to have an appointed.
in the wake of
Well,
the
that
situation where the
corruption, though,
commissioners
had
were
to do
taken
with
to-
county commissioners, and
Yes.
that was on zoning, and we're not touching that zoning part. This county mayor will have nothing to do with zoning.
Well, but
So-
corruption is not limited to
but-
zoning.
but
No,
also-
but that's where the potential is the greatest.
And also, we have made it very clear in these papers, it's the same as today, those department heads that he would appoint, I always say she because I'm female, not that I have any idea who's going to run for this office and who's
well,
going to
you'd
get
probably
it.
say that if you were talking about God. Too, but go ahead.
Absolutely. So anyway,
I'm sorry.
the
I'll be in trouble,
board
man. I'm
will
really
have
in trouble.
that person will be appointed by the mayor with advice and consent of the board. We don't take that power away. So if they think they're getting somebody in there who can't do the job, they could say no.
Let me ask you this: doesn't our charter state that the commission is not supposed to be involved in the day-to-day operations, but to just set the policy?
Right.
As every board, nonprofit board, my own board here is involved.
Yes, it does.
And then doesn't it then have a remedy if that doesn't occur? If a commissioner gets too involved in day-to-day, says, I want you to hire my cousin, or I want you to fire so-and-so, I don't like them, or whatever, what can be done? Can they be recalled, impeached? What happens?
You can recall an elected official in Hillsborough County, but is anybody going to do that because somebody said fire so-and-so? Not. There's no recourse.
In most situations, professional managers, what you have to understand is professional managers have an ethical code. The International City and County Management Association has a very strong ethical code. The Florida City and County Management Association has standards of operation and procedure. They have a credentialing process. What happens in those situations is the manager turns to the interfering county commissioner and says, no. and managers lose their jobs every day because of it. We have 407 cities and 67 counties in this state, and the vast majority of them are run by the city, by the council manager form of government. And the average tenure of an administrator is only about 3 years.
But the largest counties in our state, the largest counties with the most people living in them. I mean, that's a good argument. Most counties are, you know, city council. I mean, city. What is it? County form of
Council
government. You keep
manager.
saying. But when you look at what Jacksonville's consolidated, so you can't count.
Can't count Jacksonville.
But in the city of Orlando or Orange County, they have an elected mayor. In Broward County, they have an elected mayor.
Which is a ceremonial position.
Exactly.
They have actually rejected a elected countywide directly by the people mayor twice in Broward County. It's gone to the polls and the voters have
But
said
they
no,
didn't
we
do
don't
that
want
in
it.
They didn't do that in Dade. Dade agreed.
Yes, Dade did,
And
so
in
you've got
Orange
one.
County, they also agreed to
Okay,
have the
so
mayor.
you've
How
got
long have
Orange
they been
and
doing?
Dade.
How long has that been going on in those
They've
counties?
been
Have we
in
been
5 or 6 years, not that long.
Ha-
And
has
Miami
there-
just happened, got
Miami's-
through the court system like last year.
Last year.
So we don't know. Do we know anything about what the results of that have been? Has there been
We-
progress? Is there some way to?
It's far too early
I
to
think
tell
Orange
in either
County.
instance.
I think it's 6 or 7 years, and they have now you can't call that mayor ceremony.
No, not at all. Not at
And-
all. I will
And
completely
certainly
tell me
Orange,
that they
Orange
say that
County is very progressive and has
I
been
kn-
trying to work on this transportation.
And they're far ahead of us. And I know Richard Crotty. I've known him since he was in the Florida legislature, and he told me that since they've been in existence, their taxes have not been raised. Because that's one of the things the opponents say about us, that when we go this form of government, we're going to have raised taxes. That's not true, and it hasn't happened in Orange County. And but they have.
No, they'll just raise the millage, or they'll raise something. No, okay.
No, it hasn't happened.
No.
And
It's
and
not
it's
a-
lower than
it's-
Hillsborough County.
We agree.
Yeah.
It is not another layer of government, and it does not cost you anymore. And I also know Rich Crotty, and he's a wonderful, wonderful mayor. And you know what? Hillsborough County might produce wonderful, wonderful mayors too. But eventually, you will get a charismatic politician who does not have the best interest of the people of Hillsborough County in mind. And 4 years is, you can do a lot of damage in 4
And you
years.
can also recall, but you cannot tell me that you have the same thing for county administrator.
Well, the county administrators, you just fire them.
Yeah.
And they're
Not if they're making 4 people happy, they don't.
But you know,
That's
when
true.
when was the last time though we've seen more county administrators fired in Hillsborough County than we've seen Board of County Commissioners recall?
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
And there was a point I was going to make. You talk about elections and we'll clean up our county government and we'll get new county commissioners. Do you know how hard it is to go out and find qualified people of the same party to run against the sitting county commissioners right now? Because I've tried.
Can you imagine
That's
how
gonna be the
hard it
same
will
thing
be
with
to
a
do
county
that for
mayor.
a
It's
county
not a
mayor?
partisan. It's nonpartisan. It's nonpartisan. Republicans don't want to run against Republicans, and Democrats don't want to run against
And
Democrats.
you think that calling it nonpartisan will
All right,
will
hang
change
on a
that?
minute. Ron, speak up.
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Hi, I've got a question about, I remember sometime in the past year or so there was talk about maybe rezoning some of the boundaries for the way that the county commission gets sliced up to represent the county. And I just wondered,
Redistricting.
I just wondered if that was something that might be a compromise between the two sides here that are represented on this county mayor issue. Would making rezoning or redrawing boundary lines for what the county commissioners represent, does that improve things? Does that make things worse? Do other parties get represented that maybe were missed out on before? I just wondered what all of your panelists had to say about that.
Thank you. Good question.
I'll say 2 things about that. Number one, there was a petition that started this year to have single-member districts. 7
And not
single-member
have the
districts.
3
And not have the 3 at large.
Okay.
That didn't make it to the ballot because they could not get the petitions that they needed. Because it takes a lot of money to hire people to go do that. And they didn't make it to the ballot. Secondly,
Would that improve things, though?
Because we
or
just
not?
we're not
That's
changing that side.
We
That's
just
the-
changed from that
we're
form
not
of
changing
government
that at all.
a while
We're not
ago
changing that.
because
No, you're
of-
not proposing
when she
that.
was
What
asking
the
the question.
was.
Would it solve it? No,
Would
because
that
you-
solve this problem? No,
I think it
because
wouldn't
that
because we've
problem-
had redistricting and
coming up
what
again.
we need to do with redistricting is make sure we're not gerrymandering. And that's the problem with redistricting, when you start drawing the lines, and then probably what that the caller may not have heard, is there are times when we've drawn the lines and you look at who's involved with drawing the lines, and they made sure that they drew the lines so that they would have the people that they wanted to vote for them go cross the street and hook back in and run. No, until
And
we,
every 10 years we have that.
and so that's what the problem. And I understand what she's saying. Ridiculous. Is that the answer? No, I think that one of the answers is educate our voters, get them registered, and get them out there. Move elected Board of County Commissioners, and I can identify with what you said. I had a county commissioner tell me when we went before and with poverty that we don't have the poor here. Maybe that's why I don't have anybody sitting on your board.
Oh my God.
And so we said, thank you, sir. And we gave him a notice how long to get someone to sit on his board. And he didn't get us anyone in that time. And so we made, and it was upsetting to him, I'm sure, and somewhat embarrassing. We just eliminated his seat and we gave it to the state legislature because we was looking at every board all across the United States. And there were boards, on a board that I sit on, and we gave it to the Hillsborough County Legislative Delegation, and we said, will you please give us a delegation
But wasn't
member?
it wonderful you had the power to do that? A lot of people don't have any power.
Right, but don't you feel like it's, you know, we've had this really great outpouring in this primary, this very year of our presidential primary, but people don't get so involved in their, I mean, this is great, and I'm glad that happened and all this kind of stuff, but it seems like we have such a mobile population that nobody really gets that involved in their local politics. That educating them is very difficult. They're going to be here 2 years and they're going to go to the next job, and so they actually don't have roots at the place that they're in. Or they think they're going to move to a different place, or no issue comes up. I mean, how often do you get involved in government when something happens to you, like, you know, they're going to put a used car lot down the street, you know, next door to my house. I'm happy. I'm unhappy.
When I got involved in this, I had no idea what I was getting into.
Right.
I had no idea.
Same thing with me in public access, by the way.
I mean, I had no idea that there were certain people who allegedly run this county. I had no idea about the issues that, the viciousness, how personal it would get, how much money I would have to put to the campaign because people weren't interested. Now they're interested, and they're coming out of the woodwork now. But do you know that citizens' initiatives in this county this size, how rare it is to get this far? We're very proud of ourselves. And our motto was, let the people decide. And 37,000 people on 2 different petitions said, we want them to decide.
And both Marianne and Dottie are to be applauded for having the civic pride and
I'm against the issue, but I'm glad you got people on.
You know what?
Talking about it.
Sounds like Hillary. No.
It's true. It's true.
Now,
if
be
more
careful.
people, if everybody was as involved as these 2 people are, then frankly, we would have had this discussion a long time ago and probably put the whole thing to bed. People will vote on it in November, and they'll either decide to adopt it or they won't decide to adopt it. The sky's not going to fall either way.
If the county commission had put the issue of transportation on the ballot and let the people decide, vote it up or down, we wouldn't be here today probably. But nobody would move forward.
I lobbied for a Heartline, and I was told by the legislature, Marianne, do you really think that we can give you any extra money for Hillsborough County when y'all haven't even maxed out your taxes on your gasoline? When other counties have, you think we're going to give you any more money? You got to go back and you got to make sure you can get it from the county. And you know what the county did? I got the law changed so it make it easier to happen. The county slipped an amendment next year and changed it all around because they did not want the people to vote on it. What is wrong with it? The people decide if they want to be taxed. It's too late now. We can't afford it.
I chair a citizens committee to tend.
Why didn't the county board of county commissioners, like Dottie said, let the people vote on whether or not they wanted to pay more taxes on gasoline so we could resolve transit? And do you know that one of the meetings we were at during this time, before I got all that was getting me upset as we were going along, a county commissioner, there was a committee of 100, a county commissioner comes running into a meeting that the board told the Heartline to hold. You can't have this meeting, it violates sunshine, you haven't noticed it, we told you you don't exist anymore and you have no say and we don't want anything you got to bring to us. And we're sitting there going, I couldn't believe it. But that's how it has been addressed in Hillsborough County.
I want to guess who that was.
You know, and all of these things, all of these
Did she vote against public
shortcomings,
access too?
all of these shortcomings, all of these foibles, all of the things
it
that you're
doesn't
so
change.
unhappy with the county commission about, but then why did you eliminate the county administrator? I mean, if you're not happy with the way that the county commission
Because
is
somebody
behaving,
needs to have equal power to the county
Who
commission.
did you think is going to be elected into that position?
where is your
Just
savior
tell
going to come
these
from?
county commissioners,
I don't-
we
I
don't
don't care who
like the
goes into
job they're doing. That's the,
I think we are
that's what
telling
we're
them that.
saying. You're on speak up.
Yes, hello?
Yes, sir.
Can you ask Pam or Miss Pam to ask the question, why do us as Americans who served in the military come back and get treated worse than foreigners?
Sir, what channel are you watching?
I'm looking at channel 36.
You know what? But we're on channel 30, so we're on a
I got
different.
one question.
But I agree with
No, we're not talking about what your question is, but that show is probably pre-recorded.
Oh, Lord.
I'm so
What
sorry.
channel y'all on?
Switch. You're on Verizon. Switch over to 30. Call us if you got something to say about
Okay.
3:30. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I love
Okay.
public access.
Why aren't we taking
so
care
cool.
of this Iraq thing? Anyway, I don't know. We probably need an elected general.
Who at least have the experience.
No, he could be political.
Oh, so you don't want that kind of general.
I think we're down. We're probably close to 6-7 minutes. Well, he didn't curse at me. I was totally happy. Did you see how quick I was with the? So we only have a couple of minutes apiece. So there's probably some point you want to make sure that you bring out that we might not have covered or you want to emphasize. So I'm going to let you each take a couple of minutes to do that. Do you want to start off, Dottie?
You know, to me, it's a very simple issue. Let the people decide. We're going to get it on the ballot. It's going to be on the general election, so it's going to be there. And the people can decide, vote it up or down. But at least the people will decide what kind of a government they want, and they have the opportunity to do that.
Do you think a vote for this is a vote that says, county commissioners, we don't think you're doing a good job?
I think that the county commission has not had the leadership to address the things that I think are important, which to me is transportation right now and a few other issues, but transportation. You know, Commissioner Mark Sharp has been trying to make some headway, and he is making a little bit, but you don't see a lot going on out there, so
Right.
no.
Beth?
Well, I mean, I agree. It is on the November ballot. People will vote it up or down. It is time for them to become educated about it. And from my perspective, having seen the operations of both strong mayor and council manager form of government, I have some very strong feelings about why this should not be adopted by Hillsborough County. The accountability issue is very, very important. We currently have day-to-day accountability, whereas this proposal would give the voters accountability just one day every 4 years at the ballot box. The opening the door to corruption and cronyism because it's a political position is a problem. I've seen it in many instances in the state of Florida. And finally, replacing a professional with a politician is just simply not a good idea. This is a huge county with a huge budget with diverse needs. It's a very, very difficult time for local government, and having somebody who actually has qualifications for the job is important. Beyond that, the other thing that you have to remember is that the staff of politicians tend to be political in nature, and we've talked about the ability to have all these lower county administrators or department heads, but those people are not going to want to work and have long-term careers for someone who's going to change out every 4 or 8 years. They want to work for a professional just like the professionals that they are in running their departments. So I would say corruption, cronyism, accountability is paramount, and the political process will just infect everything.
Mary Ann?
I find it interesting that Charlie Crist does not have professional credentials to run the state, and yet it's expected that the person who is the administrator of the county has to have more credentials than somebody who's elected to run the state. I just do not buy that argument. I think it's a self-serving argument. And I believe that it does not lead to cronyism. If it does, you know, you can't legislate morals. You can't. But there's, with the Public Records Act, with the Sunshine, I believe that we have protections today that we didn't have in the 80s. And I know we don't.
Yeah.
We have the right to choose how we're going to be governed. And I do not believe in my heart, and I want to say this, I'm doing this because I believe in it. I'm not running for this office. I don't want to run for this office. And I am not, I have no access I want to
What's
gain.
so funny is you're all doing that. I'm not running, I'm not running, I'm not running. And what my final remarks I'm sitting here thinking is, would you please all run for office? Because you seem to care about what's happening with the county.
But somebody's got to stand up in this county. You know?
Yeah,
So
I
that
know,
way
but
it's not-
we need people to run who really care. But go ahead, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying,
interrupted.
someone said, you know, there's access that some of us want. I've been lucky because I have no business in Hillsborough County that I depend on to lose because people get mad at me because I'm doing this. I have been told by a lot of people, Marianne, we love what you're doing, but we can't get involved. The county commission is going to vote against our client, and we love it, but we can't help. I don't have any of those problems. I have nothing here I want from the county or from anybody here. I make a good living with my clients, and they're not here. So I just want to make those two things clear because my people keep saying, you need to say you're not running for this. I'm a Republican, and I am a strong Republican. I'm not a granola-eating, what was it, one of the press people called me a granola-eating Democrat. I'm not. I love Democrats. They're in my family, but I'm not.
Democrats eat granolas? Because I'm an independent. I had a granola this morning.
But I believe that let the people decide in November, and if we don't do this, I don't know what the salvation is.
All right.
Maybe the county will step forward, and I do think they cleaned up their act a couple times already, but I don't think the commission's doing what it needs to do to run this county by themselves.
And you're probably a Democrat. Maybe
I'm
Let
a
me ask
Democrat
you,
that
Carolyn,
vote.
do you
I'm a
eat
Democrat
granola?
that vote. No. I eat Raisin
Somebody
Bran
got
Crunch
this wrong.
clusters.
Oh,
Basically, really,
Oh,
basically,
no.
I look at the educational issue as it related to the half-cent sale tax. And I want to go back to the low-income people that we represent, and they are not ethnic specific. Okay, I'm talking about low-income people, and I'm talking about those of us that are a paycheck away from poverty. When you look at those individuals and you look at the half-cent sale tax, I'm so sorry, the property tax issue that people didn't understand, and now they've got to deal with $4 for gas, they got to deal with high cost of eggs and milk, they got to deal with foreclosures of home, they have their cars that are being repossessed, and you know what they're doing? They leave them on the highway and say, don't embarrass me and pick them up at my house, it's out there on the job or it's on the highway. With those kind of issues that are before us, if this is an issue that's on the ballot, we're going to say the NAACP oppose the county mayor, and we're going to ask people to be extremely informed and know the issues before they vote for it and get registered and vote.
As someone who grew up in poverty,
I think we're going to argue our way to the end through this show. So I'm just going to say goodnight now because I think because he's going like this, 30 seconds, 5 seconds. I think we're just going to argue our way out. See you next week.